Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. I'm Robin Mellum. This is the first episode of Beyond the Paragraph podcast. I'm a teacher and a children's book author with Disney, HarperCollins, and Houghton Mifflin. Basically, I rebuilt how I teach writing and I use the strategies that I learned that authors rely on to write efficiently and confidently. And when I came back to the classroom and I revamped my program so that it matched what was happening in the real world, it just changed everything. My students just really flourished, and I just want to get all this information out to you all of what I did and why I did this. So I'm going to share with you what I learned from my editors, my professional editors, and it was kind of mind-blowing. There were things that they taught me that I had never been taught, and I know you have never been taught because it's not part of our traditional, you know, training that we've had as teachers. No one has done this. And I'm like, why are we not making the connection between writing in the real world and what we're teaching in the classrooms? It kind of never made sense to me. So, in this first episode, I'm going to pull back the curtain on why our traditional writing instruction just hasn't been working and what you could do instead. And I'm going to walk you through all the shifts that I've made and how I transformed my classroom. And the cool thing is that doing it this way, it made it fun. Like writing is now my students' favorite thing to do. Writer's workshop is at the top of their list at the end of the year when we do our reflections. And I've been hearing that from teacher after teacher. They're like, whoa, they're putting writer's workshop as the thing that they love the most. I love it. So I'm going to talk in this episode about why students' writing might sound kind of robotic and what we could do to fix it. I want to talk about structured writing and what that really means. Like, how do we do a workshop that's structured? And then we'll go over what to expect from this podcast and how it can support you as an ELA teacher or as a parent. So if you're in the classroom or maybe you're a homeschool parent, hopefully each one of these episodes is going to give you some relief and maybe a spark of inspiration. So let's start here. I want you to imagine that you're sitting at a table. It might be your teacher desk, or maybe it's your kitchen counter, wherever. There's a stack of papers in front of you, and it's your students writing. And you start reading through it, and you're hoping that, oh, I'm going to find the spark from them. I'm going to find something that makes me so excited that all of this teaching that I just did was totally worth it. However, you start going through it and the sentences feel kind of stiff and the ideas are shallow and basic. And then every paragraph starts to sound like it comes from a template. And maybe you gave them a template and it kind of sounds like it. So, but then you're saying to yourself, okay, I did everything in the curriculum that it said to do. I gave them a graphic organizer. I modeled in front of them how to write an essay. We went through it step by step, but why didn't it click? What's missing? I want you to be thinking about that as we go through this podcast. Why is it that a graphic organizer and modeling it in front of them might not be the answer? So when you're feeling this way, when you see this whole stack of essays, you start to kind of question, like, why does teaching writing feel so hard? And it breaks my heart sometimes as an instructional coach to come up on teachers who are like, I get sick to my stomach right before we start an essay because I don't like teaching it anymore. And the teachers are going into it with dread because there's something about it that's like, it's not going to click. I'm doing all the things and it's not working. Oh, makes me sad. But the truth is that it's not your fault. It's not that teacher's fault. It's not the student's fault either. It's the problem in the way that we were taught how to teach writing, or that we weren't taught how to teach writing, which is in my case. I mean, I started teaching in 1992 outside Atlanta. And I don't, at University of Georgia, I don't remember ever having any classes in my teacher training that taught me how to teach writing. I don't even remember talking about it. It was very much reading oriented degree that I got. And so then when I got to my first job, they just said, we had to do like one state report or something, but they also said you could do creative writing. Kids like that. Like that's as much as the writing program was back then. And so I just did really goofy stuff. We did sort of like art project writing where they would make things that looked really cute with their writing, and then we could put it on the wall so it would look good for conferences. But that's not really a writing program, right? Like that is just kind of wasting time in a way. We were just having fun. So we have a system where it's teaching writing to kids now. Like we've just given them a set of directions for assembling furniture. So let's do a little sidebar here with IKEA. If you have any IKEA furniture, and don't get offended when I say all of this, because I've done all of this. So you get an IKEA thing, you see it in the catalog, and then it's, oh my gosh, it looks so good. And it comes into your house in this box, and you start to put it together, and you're trying to follow the directions, but it feels like it's in a different language because it's in a different language. And then you're like, what does this say? What is that? I don't know. Just try something. And so then you put this thing together and you're like, this does not feel very sturdy. If there's any wind that comes by, this thing's going down. And then someone else comes over to your house, right? And they walk in, and instead of looking at that piece of furniture and saying, wow, that's a gorgeous piece of furniture, they say, oh yeah, we have that one too. So IKEA furniture, again, don't get offended, but it's kind of generic. It's something that like often we all have a piece of IKEA furniture at the beginning of our lives for sure, especially when we're starting out. It's priced really nice. So it's the same thing with writing curriculum where what we're telling them is the same from teacher to teacher and year over year. And then the output feels cliche. It's overdone. It's totally uninspired. And they're like following these numbered steps. They're using the exact words we give them for the sentence starters. And then we've never really moved the needle, and they hate it. They dread it. You dread it. And then we're wondering why our students aren't engaged in class. And why are these essays so flat? No one wants to revise. That's where we're going to talk about all of this in this podcast. Let's talk about the 5-paragraph essay. We're just going to go there right off the bat because we've all done it. And you've given them the topic, and maybe you've given them some choice in what their topic can be, and you think that would be super engaging for them. Turns out just that alone is not going to be the thing that fixes everything. And then you have a graphic organizer, and it looks amazing. You hand that out. And then you have, if you get stuck, here are your sentence starters. And then you have a checklist for them. Make sure you're including this and this and this. You're going to model for them in front of them, like, here's how to write that. Watch me as I do this, as they kind of sit there doing something. I'm not sure. And then what you get in return is 5 paragraphs, if you get 5 paragraphs, really. And those 5 paragraphs don't tell you much. And there's no voice in there. And let me just stop for 1 second here. This not having voice was the key. This is what got me published. This is what changed my writing once I finally understood. I went to so many conferences. I attended so many meetings and critique groups, and voice is the number one thing that editors are looking for. And nobody's teaching this. I can't find it anywhere. So the first lesson that I teach every year is voice, and we come back to it over and over again. The cool thing is that these students can pick up on this skill so quickly. They're really, really good at it. Adults are not. We have too many habits that we have in place, and trying to find our voice when we're older is harder. So get them when they're young. Teach them how to write with voice. That's all part of my program. If I'm going all through this and you're like, what is this program? Just look in the notes, and I do have like a full training if you're ready to dive into it. So here you get your 5 paragraphs, right? There's no voice. is not a super clear idea. It's feeling really robotic and it's surface level. But technically, it checks the boxes of that rubric that you gave. It's not really saying much of anything. And then what do? We give them an A? I mean, it's an issue. So I've been hearing the same thing from homeschool parents too, and those who are trying to follow like a writing workbook from cover to cover. The problem can be that they just jump right in with grammar drills or it jumps straight into an essay. And there's such a heavy leaning on templates and fill in the blank activities that the students become passive. They're not making decisions in their writing life. They're just waiting. They're sitting there, arms folded, saying, well, just tell me what to write and I'll do it. I just want my grade and move on. But it doesn't have to be like that. So I want to just make sure, and I stress this, you don't become a better writer by completing a worksheet. You will get better at writing by writing. And I know that sounds like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But by having a daily writing habit, you experiment, you fail, you rewrite, and that builds your confidence along the way because you set up a program where you want them to try new things. That is what I look for when I give, we'll go through the whole thing, but when I give digital stickers and everything, like someone who did something new and blew my mind. So it's a problem like if you're playing basketball. I'll leave my IKEA metaphor and we'll go into basketball. And as you get to know me, if this is the first time you've hung out with me, you'll know that I talk about basketball quite a lot. And if you were going to teach someone how to play basketball, but you only just pulled out a book that had some diagrams in it and some arrows, and here you go here, they go there, and now you can play basketball, right? And that doesn't work. It doesn't stick. They have to grab that basketball and start playing around with it and make mistakes and miss a bunch of shots until they finally learn how to do it. So you have to give them those opportunities where they aren't feeling the pressure of getting a grade. So you got to build that into your daily curriculum. So grammar does matter, absolutely. And structure, as you'll hear, does matter. But all of that has to come after learning expression, and expression meaning that voice. So once they've learned how to get some words down and express in a way that only they could express it, or that the character would express it, you really can't move on from there. So talking about structured writing, but I don't mean rigid, I mean strategic. So it's about building like this repeatable, consistent, but flexible system that gives students both freedom and focus. So like they know exactly what happens in workshop. They know what's going to come next, and they all know what the skills are that we're learning. There's no surprises in my writing program. But they love structure. They love routine. Even eighth graders do. And times when I have to stop the workshop because we have this or that, we have an assembly or whatever, they're like, what? They're so sad that we don't have workshop. I so want that experience for you. It'll just, oh my gosh, fill your teacher heart so much. So in that structure, here are 4 things that I think you should do. So you want to take notes. You need to have a daily sentence combining exercise so that you have fluency in sentence writing, perfection. And I have these ELA 3-a-day warm-ups that I do with them. And so they always combine sentences. And then the next task, they do like a little test prep question, multiple choice, so that they're practicing all those little, those little language standards that we can't seem to ever fit in. That's where I put them. And then we do that same skill all week so that they have a whole week of working on it so that they can, master it by Friday. And then it also includes a quick write. This they love it so much. And this is where they start to build up that ability to have expression. And then they can pivot at any point. They can learn all these different ways to write, and their confidence just soars. And next we have weekly writing workshops, and they focus on one skill at a time. So the teacher always gives a mini lesson, and you'll see, if you take the training, you'll see that I do it with a certain time segments, and it's all very specific, like the amount of time they have to write, and you have 7 minutes to give your lesson, because there's science behind that about the amount of time that we can handle new information like that. So they know there's these 6 skills are on a wheel, and they know which one's next. And then we can kind of move the arrow and tell them we're going to work on this some more next week, and so on. And then next we work on CER paragraphs, which is claims, evidence, reasoning, like all the time. Whenever we're not doing anything, we just do CER for everything, so that they have the ability to do an evidence-based paragraph quickly and confidently, because we've done it a gazillion times. And then they learn that CER paragraphs are actually the body paragraphs when you're doing your essay. So we also do essays, but we do not do the essays in the workshop. It's a totally different system, and I'll save that for another podcast episode. So they know what they're working on, and they know the routine, and they start to feel proud of their progress, and they're going to start to care about what they're saying and not just how they're saying it. Now, I teach this through a progression, meaning there's 4 phases we go through. We're going from confidence to ownership to mastery to transfer. Confidence, you have to start at the beginning of the year with building their confidence. And you can do that through this voice activity that I do with them, where they're basically they're doing a diary entry for a very obscure object. And I walk them through the process of determining like what obscure object they're going to use. And it kind of explains to them why brainstorming is so important. And then we move on to ownership, which is having leadership in the workshop. So my kids, they have jobs. They are captains or co-captains. One of them does all the timers. One of them does all the tech. They're doing the digital spinners and pulling up the dares. Like, it's more like I'm a coach on the side while they're sort of getting all the players on the field and doing warm-ups and getting ready for the workshop. They love this part of it. And then we move to mastery. Once we're getting those skills practice weekly, we can then transfer them into the mastery part, which is your essay. And then we transfer that to other curriculums. So now we can write this way in science or history. And again, we always start with voice, and no other curriculum seems to be teaching this. But if you can find it, please tell me, because I want to see if there are other ways to teach you that I have not thought about. Now, as you can kind of tell, the heart of the program that I've created is the workshop itself. This is where all the magic happens. My student leaders run it, and they kick off every time with a warm-up. They warm up the class. I don't, for workshop day. They introduce a skill that we're going to focus on, and they introduce the teacher when it's time for that power lesson. And the kids time the teacher. They spin the spinner, choose the dare. And then all these leadership roles rotate through the year. So just about everybody who wants a turn in front of the group can get it. But then those students who want, who'd rather be in a smaller setting, there are leadership opportunities within their trio group. And then that's when they mine for diamonds. And so now if you're wondering, like, what do you mean by power lesson and writing dares and spinners and trios and diamond mining? So don't worry, I'm going to break all of this down for you in future episodes. So I want you to hold on to your hat, maybe your flare pen, because we're just getting started. So in this podcast, some weeks I'm going to dive into like a single teaching move, like just the sentence combining, or how to focus on that student-led part of the workshop. And then other times I'll share stories from my own classroom, or spotlight strategies, or pull out, zoom out, and tackle bigger stuff, and how to integrate all your writing into other subject areas. And by the way, if you're ready to just go even deeper with all of this, I do have a 10-video training that walks you through every single step of a structured writing workshop. It'll help you launch it all the way through to your final celebration on that last day. And there's a link in the description below. And you don't have to piece this together all on your own. It's all laid out there for you. So don't worry. Just listen and relax as you listen to the podcast. My goal is to help you look forward to writing instruction. And writing can be something that is your most favorite thing to do because it's going to, in the end, become your students' most favorite thing to do. I can almost promise you this whole thing has been a magical transformation, not just for me, but for so many other teachers who are doing this. They are seeing like remarkable results. So if you are craving that shift in your own classroom or in your homeschool, then welcome to Beyond the Paragraph. You're in the right place. There's so much more to come. Be sure to follow Beyond the Paragraph wherever you get your podcast and share this with a teacher bestie. They will love you for it, and so will I. To go deeper and learn more about the structured writing method, go to structuredwritingteacher.com.